So today's the day we pay respect to our fallen heroes, our former family members who served and died in wars, the main ones being the First World War and the Second World War and subsequent wars after that. I don't know about you, but I struggle to watch Remembrance Sunday now because of the people I see standing around the cenotaph. So I thought I'd take to Twitter and Facebook. Apparently the post has gone down pretty well. It's had about 11,000 views when it went out. I haven't checked it since. It's just how I see the people that stand before us at the cenotaph. So here's the blog. So today at 11 o'clock, whilst those who serve stand proud and honest, the medals an outward sign and a visible sign of their belief in their country. We have to endure the hypocrisy of those who start wars and perpetuate them. The profits still rolling in for the military-industrial complex, who benefit so much from pointless carnage. Leaders, past and present, afforded the glory of front row positioning, despite their vile contributions to wars past and present. This will be covered by the legacy media with their solemn voices, a mere facade of respect as far as I can see. They do not carry that respect in their hearts. We see you, we know who you are, and we don't respect you. Your true colours are seen through the eyes of our homeless and vulnerable veterans, ignored every day of the year. And it will take more than bowed heads and 2 minutes silence to convince me that you have any souls at all. It's a bit strong, isn't it, for Remembrance Sunday? I get that. But you see, when I sit here and read government documents that tell me that our government is spending £500,000, there you go, I'll show it you, £500,000 a day on hotel bedrooms that are empty, just in case some migrants turn up. £500,000 a day they're spending to have empty bedrooms, just in case there's an influx of illegals. Because they are illegals, because you can't just turn up if you're coming in legally. They're coming from camps that have waited their turn to come in if they're coming legally. So we'll spend £500,000 every single day on nothing, on empty bedrooms, on a just in case, while we sit here and watch our veterans who they've had drugs tested on them, they've been treated abysmally. There's no structure for them when they leave the services, and many of them have mental health issues, drug addiction, alcoholism. They need help. It's the sort of help we give to strangers who just jump off a dinghy. They can get dental work, they can get doctor's appointments. Our veterans get nothing. And we're supposed to believe that these characters standing round the cenotaph, who have gone to war in our name, despite, with Iraq for instance, 1 million people marched against it. And that was in the days before social media. That was in the days before you could rally the troops with a quick soundbite or a blog on a social media channel. That was when you had to contact people directly. But people took to the streets. They didn't want to go to war. And how many times have we have this thrust upon us? And yet, when these people leave service after they've done their duty, what structure is there for them? There's hardly anything that I can see. And we have to watch the Keir Starmers and the Tony Blairs and the Boris Johnson who went across to Ukraine and scuppered the Minsk Accord 2 peace talks. And then suddenly got paid £5 million for speeches that I can't find anywhere. Can't even find that he actually made them. So we have to see all this and witness how it unfolds. And not only that, we've had a headhunting campaign during the Tory government where they've been going after veterans from Northern Ireland to take them to court. These are old men. These are men who are shuffling now because of back injuries or old age in itself, COPD, different ailments that they've got, living a lonely life in some cases because mentally they've never adjusted, and we've got the courts going after them for what? As far as I know, soldiers take orders, don't they? So that must come from higher up. But nobody comes for them. It's just the working men, isn't it? The cannon fodder. And I look at Remembrance Sunday now and it turns my stomach. So I would do more for veterans, because if we can send £11 billion to Africa and take the winter fuel allowance off pensioners, imagine we've saved 2 billion doing that, but sent 11 billion to Africa. So send them 9 and give the pensioners the fuel allowance back. Set up something, have some hotel bedrooms for our veterans. If we can have hotels in towns for complete strangers who subsequently, many of which, far too high a number, the ratio is bad, commit crimes and don't treat us with respect, think that our girls, because they're more liberated, are sexual targets to be chosen at random. I'm not sure how much more we're supposed to tolerate of this, but they don't put anything in place for our veterans. So I wanted to make today's broadcast, listen to me, sat in my house, I wanted it to be about them. I'm old enough to have a dad. My dad served in the war. He was a tank driver in North Africa. And he saw a bit of action. And believe me, when you're going in with a tank, you're not at the back of the queue, are you? And what he had to live through, living in the desert in a tent with body lice and various rashes and incontinence, because they get dysentery. All these things that they suffered, the very inhumane and inhospitable living conditions. And then he was in Italy. Then I look round at what happened. I used to watch Remembrance Sunday because my mum and dad would make me watch it because they'd remind me what they went through, because it would have been terrible, wouldn't it? The reality of sending someone to war, like the Second World War, where my dad kissed my mother goodbye before they were just sweethearts, and she didn't know when she'd see him again. And she always said to me, when I kissed him goodbye, I kissed a boy, and when he came home, he was a man. It was different. And, my granddad having to say to his son, because my dad worked at the co-op making butter when he got called up, and my granddad said to him, when you come back, son, there's a job for you driving lorry, because they had a little haulage business, it went out. And imagine having to say that to your son, knowing that when you kissed him that time or you hugged him that time, he might not come home. And that's what they went through. And then my mother had to go and work in a munitions factory. And you'll all have your stories. Please put it on the thread, share away. Because I come from that generation. My parents were slightly older. My mum was nearly 40 when she had me. So I'm fortunate enough. I was spoon-fed on all our yesterdays. And of course, my dad's tales, and my father-in-law, who was very highly decorated from the Second World War, so much more action than my dad. He's my ex-father-in-law. He's since died. He went to all his military reunions. He was a regular soldier stationed in India before the war, and he was at Monte Cassino, and it was in Berlin, I think, just after the war. And he saw an awful lot of action, and he was a respected man with a chest full of medals, who even into his 90s went to his military reunions because it meant so much to him. King and country. It was king and country when he signed up. And I think of these men and women, of course, and how their lives were just so bitterly interrupted. And then I look at the clowns we have in our country today and what they're doing to our country, giving it away in bucketfuls of our taxes, going on batshit crazy ideas, while we sit here faced with bigger bills, the highest energy bills in the world in some cases. There's a graph from the Financial Times. We're at the only thing we've ever come number one in, the energy bills. How is that even possible? How is that accepted? How are we making millionaires out of energy, green energy companies? Because they survive off subsidies, which is our taxes again. And we're supposed to think that on Remembrance Sunday, one day a year we get for all the fallen from both world wars, from Korea, from Vietnam, from Iraq, from Afghanistan. We get one day a year to remember them. And we get a month for it. to remind us about Islamophobia, because apparently being able to calculate that all the terror attacks that we suffer, 99% of them come from that neck of the woods. I just wonder what is happening to my country, and I hope that with the resurrection of Donald Trump, that hopefully that will empower our country. When I say our country, I mean the people, not these clowns in office, not these idiots. I mean the power to the people to realise that you can vote out bad people. The only trouble with the American system is there's this gap between being elected and being inaugurated, which is November to January, and they can do anything. And currently Tucker Carlson has written, a bit dodgy this, that already the incumbent administration, because it's not Joe Biden, don't kid yourself, it's bloody Joe Biden. The incumbent administration is already playing at, I suppose you call it silly buggers. Let me just find it. I sent it to Nigel this morning. Tucker Carlson writes, what the hell's going on in the US Senate hours after Donald Trump wins the most conclusive mandate in 40 years? Mitch McConnell engineers a coup against his agenda by calling an early leadership election in the Senate. 2 of the 3 candidates hate Donald Trump and what he ran on. One of them, John Cronin, is an angry liberal whose politics are indistinguishable from Liz Cheney's. The election is Wednesday. It's by secret ballot, and it will determine whether or not the new administration succeeds. There you go. So they're already at it. So all this talk you hear from Kamala and Joe Bedrin, who managed to string a sentence together, my God, they must have had him dosed up on something. They're already playing shenanigans, aren't they, trying to undo what's been done. And at least with British politics, when you vote, and the administration changes over. I don't understand the need for the 3 months. Maybe someone can explain it. Because, as we all know, it's the civil service in America or Great Britain that run the country. Nothing stops because a new government's been elected. Everything ticks over and then the new legislation is implemented. So that's a bit disappointing and a bit worrying. But nevertheless, as long as he stays alive till he gets put in, that's the main thing. So we'll just leave today for our veterans and for all the people, because every veteran has a family, don't they? They have a wife or a husband, or they have kids and grandchildren. They have things to live. They're invested in the country. They couldn't be invested more than risking their life, could they? And we get to watch Tony Blair and Gordon Brown and even Boris after his shenanigans with the Minsk Accord. To see them standing there being solemn, I lose it. Anyway, enjoy your Sunday. I'm sure quite a lot of you respect the fallen and the ones that have been abandoned by the system and the ones being sued by the government and chased legally for the time in Northern Ireland. It's all very, very wrong, and we deserve so much better. And we could have better. We are capable of better than this. We could have facilities for our veterans. Because if we can create them suddenly, wham, bam, like that with hotels for our newcomers, then we could do it for veterans, because the newcomers aren't bringing anything to the country. They're a cost to the country. So you might say the veterans are a cost, but they're our veterans. They served for us. You and me continued our lives while these people went into other countries. And we sit here today because our forefathers, and you know, the left always poo-poo it, don't they? The little chubby commentators on mainstream media who they find us appalling because of our age, because we're even pensioners, let alone, God forbid, you're a former serviceman. So today's podcast, whatever, is it a podcast? Today's message is for our veterans. And God bless every single one of them.